Hey, this is Yazuki Wolf, and I'm here checking out Diablo Immortal. I know if you've watched videos on YouTube or pretty much anywhere on the internet, you've probably already heard that this game has some pretty sketchy monetization practices. It's a rather extensive monetization system that, if you want to get more detail in, I would recommend you just look up Diablo Immortal on YouTube. I'm sure you'll find an appropriate video. But in essence, you could sum it up by saying that it can cost you theoretically hundreds of thousands of dollars to max out a single character in the game. And there are indeed live streamers who have spent upwards of $10,000 in the game without getting any of the legendary gems that are needed to max out your character. But my question, having seen this, is twofold. First off, do you need to max out your character? If you were to approach it casually and just want to play through the main storyline and not really grind through any content, not redo content over and over again, but just kind of play through, is that something that's doable? That's my first question. So how necessary is it for you to actually get to spend money in the game to maximize your character? And the second question is, if it is playable, is it truly a good game outside of that monetization system? Because you've seen a lot of the reviews that are out there, they say that the monetization system is undeniably bad, but it's a really good game outside of that, and it's a shame that it has that monetization system that's kind of like tainting what otherwise would be a really good installment into the Diablo series. And so to answer those questions for myself, and now for you, the viewer, I decided to go ahead and play through with a completely 100% free-to-play run. I've not spent a dime in the game. I basically ignore anything that has a price tag attached to it. So anytime a pop-up comes up that has a price tag, I just close it and I move on. And one other rule for this playthrough, though, is that I've also decided to restrict it to PvE only, mainly because I think you can already pretty much definitively answer that if there is PvP in the game and that the money you spend in the game makes you markedly stronger than those that do not pay money, that's by definition pay to win, and you do need to pay money in order to be competitive. So I don't think there's any question there. But when it comes to PvE, I think it's not quite as cut and dry, and there's an argument to be had there. My main concern is that when a game puts a monetization system that makes you stronger, even in terms of PvE, it is incentivizing the developers of the game to essentially break their own game and break the balance of the game in order to get you to essentially pay to fix it. Essentially, you're just trying to make the game as enjoyable as possible while also having enough stress that the player would want to relieve that stress by paying money. There are a lot of psychological tricks going on there. Maybe I'll make another video about that, but that's really getting the territory of another video. So let's talk about my experience in Diablo Immortal. First off, let me say that at the beginning of this game, I was having a lot of trouble with the controls. I know that the PC port of it is still in beta, so that maybe they're still working out the kinks in there. But man, it just did not feel right. Like, it was not moving the way I wanted it to move. The click boxes, is that what they're called? I don't know, like the click boxes for different things that you were like clicking on in order to activate them or to examine them or whatever the case is. It just seemed really off a lot of the times. Like, you would click on the thing, but the actual box for the click to register would be somewhere below it, or there'd be like an entrance way to a gate, and you'd click on the gate and nothing would happen. And if you walk into the gate, you lose the click box entirely, and you have to like walk away and then try to search for it. And then in combat, it often felt like it had a mind of its own. There were some cases where you would be moving even though you hadn't clicked anything, and there was other cases where you would click and you would actually see the in-game particle effect registering that you had actually made a click, but then your character would just not move at all. So then I tried using a gamepad, but that was no better. I don't know if it's a latency issue, but for some reason I would press a direction and then I would let go, and it would still be moving for a good like half second or maybe even a full second after I let go or even pressed like a different direction. It almost felt like I was gliding on ice or something. I don't know. It didn't seem to be working properly. So eventually, what I settled on, and that's what I've kind of been sticking to, is WASD. And I don't really seem to have any latency here with WASD. I don't I don't know why this works and the gamepad didn't, but because originally I thought maybe it's because I'm in Japan and maybe there was like a latency issue there, but with WASD is no problem at all. It's very responsive. So WASD works for that, and then I just use my mouse for targeting attacks and everything. But yeah, I've gotten used, now that I've switched to WASD, it's a lot better, and it's possible that they'll fix those other issues with the mouse in the future patches. All right, so let's talk about the beginning of the game. The first 30 levels is pretty damn nice. You know, after I got the controls figured out and I got things functioning properly. It's zoomed in a lot, and a lot of the UI still looks like a mobile game's UI, so that's still there, but you can very quickly kind of forget that you're playing a mobile port and start just feeling like you're playing a Diablo game, maybe like a new patch of Diablo 3 or something like that. The first 30 levels, you are pretty much just going through the main quest. There's very little interruptions. There's one part where I just had to laugh because here you are, you're about to fight Leoric again. You know, you have this inspirational speech before the battle, and you're all pumped up, ready to go. And then all of a sudden, this is probably the first time that I think it pops up like this. You just get this like thing saying, "Hey, do you want to spend money?" It's just crazy. Like that's where you're gonna pop it up. Like at least like I can understand if it was like after you killed him, like in the Diablo 3 and the free version of the game. I think after you kill Leoric, that's when it pops up saying, "Hey, do you want to actually purchase the game now?" And that seemed like a proper timing to me, like at a stopping point after the first major boss. But for it to be right before the boss, while you're getting ready, it seemed like a very strange place to place that, and it made me laugh more than anything. But yeah, you just close that down. Like I said, anytime I see anything with a price tag on it, I just close it and move on. So it wasn't really that much of a distraction. And you continue along the story and everything. It feels like you're playing a new installment of Diablo 3, maybe a slightly updated version. The graphics are a bit nicer. It felt pretty good. Then you get to level 30. I believe it was level 30. Might be a little bit after, but around the level 30 mark, that's where you start getting your first instances of level gated content. So it says, okay, I know you're enjoying the main story, but now it's time to slow down, stop. You have to level yourself up a bit before you go any further. And that's a game mechanic I don't particularly like, but I kind of see it being used legitimately in some cases. Here, I'm not convinced it really is. I feel like what's going on here is that, so you've been enjoying the game as a casual Diablo player, but we don't want you to just play through the main story and be finished with it. We want to get you kind of hooked into these long-term systems that are going to suck you into the core loop of the game and hopefully keep you playing beyond your initial investment of playing through the story and the initial content, but actually moving on to things like leaderboards, PvP, things that are eventually going to kind of lead you into the pay-to-play aspects of the game. That being said, it doesn't seem like it's too hard to get past that level gate. In my case, I just did a couple rifts, and it seemed like within like a half hour to maybe an hour, I had leveled up to whatever I needed to go on to the next part of the story. That does gradually get longer and longer each time, though. So, for example, right here, you see that my next level gate is level 51. And I feel like it's definitely taking me longer to get to 51 than it took me to get to the former level gates. It's not like unmanageable though. I just went up a level, so I'm 48 now, and it doesn't seem to take too much to level up still. Like it still seems reasonable, but it's definitely you're starting to feel it slow down a bit. And so if I click here, you'll see that they give you their recommendations of how you can earn experience to get your level up. And you have your Elder Rifts, bounties, and Battle Pass. So like I said, I was doing the Elder Rifts. I found that bounties, it just seemed boring to me because it basically just has you go back to the same places you've been before and just kill X amount of X mob. And then Battle Pass, this, I kind of have mixed feelings about this. In one instance, it is kind of a nice dopamine rush to come in here and be like, okay, I did my Elder Rifts, so I'm going to claim this. And you go through here and you'd be like, okay, what else have I accomplished? Kill 128 elite monsters. I did that, so I could get to fill this up a little bit more. And once it fills up, you get a nice little XP boost there. But so this is the thing, though, is that this is where they're trying to get you into the more long-term stuff. Like here on the achievements, we have the Socket 6 legendary gems. I actually got 5 of 6. You see that? So That's not bad for a free-to-play player. The thing you have to keep in mind, though, is that my legendary gems are the super common ones. They aren't the actual, like, super deluxe pay-to-win player equivalent. And in the Conquest, we also have the player versus player, which I'm not touching. Somehow I've actually unlocked a lot of these. I don't know how. But another interesting thing here is you can see in this how to get stronger here, it says socket and upgrade normal gems. My rating is poor. And socket and upgrade legendary gems, my rating is fair. Equipment, high-level equipment, poor. So I don't have very good ratings for any of this. So that means on the comparative spectrum, and if stuff like this, if seeing that your rating is poor like bothers you, and you feel like motivated by that to try to do whatever you can to get it higher, then maybe you should stay away from this game because it might be a bad temptation for you. But for me, I'm like, okay, whatever. It says I'm poor. In reality, when I go into these rifts and I go through the story, I have no trouble. I do not feel weak at all. I have never really felt weak in this. Conversely, though, it doesn't feel like it's too easy either, though. I feel like there is enough of a challenge where you can't just completely AFK it like you can in a lot of other mobile games. Where, I mean, I've played mobile games where it's hard to die. This one, if you just AFK yourself for a good, like, I don't know, 20 seconds, your character's probably gonna die. Maybe 10 seconds might even be enough for you to die. So it's definitely, it needs your attention, and in that aspect, I think it really is. There really is a core of a good game here. And for someone like me playing casually, I mean, I look at my character. I have they look pretty badass. I don't feel any sense of like inferiority because I haven't spent money to get like some amazing items or something. Like, this looks pretty damn badass to me. Like, you know, I'm pretty cool with this. And obviously, comparatively speaking, this is probably crap, because like I think to do the next raid boss, I need, like, the first difficulty is 420. I just barely make that, but the next difficulty is 1250. So I am pretty damn weak, all things considered. Yeah, 426, so that's like 3 times what I'm at right now. So that does give me a sense that things may be slowing down, and I might still start feeling like I'm hitting a wall fairly soon. But like, in conclusion, like, I can continue on to level 60, and I could probably get to Paragon 30, and I probably won't have any issues or any real huge pressure to pay money in the game. But ultimately, I'm just getting a little bored. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's not a bad game. But the thing is, it's just good enough to remind me how much I like action RPGs. And having been reminded of that, I just feel compelled to go back and play some of the other ARPGs that I have in my library. Like, particularly for myself, I'm playing this on PC, so I could be playing Path of Exile, I could be playing Grim Dawn. I mean, even Diablo 3 is probably a better game than this. Essentially because this is mostly Diablo 3. I mean, if you look at your skills, the skills you got here are basically the Diablo 3 skills, but watered down. I have the same skills, but I don't have the runes that I could switch up the mechanics of it. You'll see here, like, if I go to, which one is it? Skeleton Mage. There's this Grim Reaper here, which is an add-on, which was added on based on the armor set that I'm wearing. So there are stuff like that. They may have moved some of that customization into your armor sets rather than it being a direct option here. Another thing I noticed is, like, if you look at the middle of the screen, we're playing a Diablo game, but there's no mana pool or like energy pool for us to draw from to do moves. So all of our moves are all cooldown based. In Diablo 3, I was generally able to kind of make builds that hardly use the regular attack at all. Like, you could just take your main attack away and put like a special skill in there, and as long as you have mana, it would do the special skill, and the moment that you run out of mana, it would switch to your regular attack, and then you would recharge your mana, and then you go back to the special one. And you can't do that here. You're forced to always have a regular attack here. So, I mean, like I said, that's a design decision, and the game works without it. It's just something that, if you were comparing it to Diablo 3 and that was something you preferred, well, that's another point in Diablo 3's camp. That being said, the graphics are quite nice. It's been a while since I played Diablo 3, but I imagine the graphics have been updated a bit, so it probably looks a little bit nicer than Diablo 3. And like Diablo 3, it has that just Blizzard polish where everything just feels really good. You get that nice dopamine rush of things exploding, really good sound design. And I gotta say, this is a little like side point, and maybe well, most likely has nothing to do with you, but I've been playing it with the Japanese voice acting, and damn, I just love the Japanese voice acting in this. A lot of games, when they make their localized versions, they kind of half-ass it, but this is actually some really good voice acting. その魂なら心臓の鼓動も早まる。来い、鼓動に合わせて叫べ。So I guess that brings us to the next point of comparison, which is the story. The story also, it feels, I mean, it's passable, but it feels sort of like the offshoot TV series and not like a new installment in like a movie series, if that makes sense. So it doesn't feel like the main installment, and I guess as a mobile game, maybe that's the right position for it. But essentially, I don't feel like you would be missing much by not playing it. Okay, so anyways, my final thoughts on the game. It is playable without spending any money if you are a casual player. You aren't playing to be competitive, you're not interested in PvP, you don't feel the need to be comparable to other people playing the game in terms of your PvE strength. You just want to casually play through the main story and just see what the content is like, or maybe just kill a half hour like slaying some demons. Yes, it's totally playable. But in terms of your time investment, because not only do we have cash investments to consider, we also have time investments. I think you may find a better value for your time by just playing something else. As purely a mobile game, it may be worth a go, but on the PC front, there's just so many better games out there that you can play without any worry about pay-to-win mechanics that, despite how non-intrusive they may be at the beginning, the companies that make these games have an incentive to turn the free-to-play players into payers. They have an incentive to turn the payers into dolphins, whales, krakens, whatever it may be. So there is a funnel that you're going to have to be constantly resisting, a funnel that's trying to suck you in. I mean, that's part of the reason why you have these level gates here before the end of the story. Why couldn't they have just let you play through the entire story and then introduce you to all this other stuff you could be doing, and then release another patch with a new story? It's because they want to get you used to the idea that you don't need story, you don't need handcrafted content, you just need to be part of this monetization system. Hey, this is Future Yaz in the editing room. Just need to interject here, because I went ahead and I kept playing to get to level 60 just to see if it gets any grindier, and it does indeed. So I think when I first recorded this, I was on my way to level 51 was my next level gate, and that indeed took me a lot longer than the earlier level gates. But beyond that, there's another level gate that I believe was 56, and that took even longer, and the sort of ratio between how much time you're spending in handcrafted storyline quests versus the amount of time you are spending in repeatable content like Elder Rifts is drastically shifted over to that repeatable content side of things. So I'm very much getting the impression that they're hoping that they can hook you on the cheap, repeatable, low developer cost content. Like I mentioned in the video, I don't really like repeating the same content, especially if there's not some sort of level increase in the content as well. So I started gravitating away from the Elder Reefs and more toward the challenge rifts. So you'll see here that I have myself doing, this is challenge rating 12. And already at level 12, you can see at the bottom of the screen it's giving me a message that these monsters are high level and are too difficult for me. I was able to clear this rift, and later on I nearly cleared level 13 as well. But the way they get you here is even if you as a player are skilled enough to kind of pace yourself and control your actions so that you are able to get through the rift without dying, which I was able to do, the next barrier is a time barrier, because if you don't get through the rift fast enough, you run out of time and you fail the rift that way. And I think that is even more so tied to your gear score, Because even if you can avoid taking damage from the enemy, if the enemy is essentially just like a damage sponge and it's going to take you a long time to get through each and every enemy, well then you're, just by the pure mechanics of the game, you're not going to be able to clear the rift in time. So of course, if I start grinding for some gear that could possibly give me a better build, and I make some adjustments, I could probably clear challenge rating 13, maybe 14, maybe even get all the way to 15. But it's starting to seem more and more that this game is not going to let me play any further without getting serious about my gear. So going back to the question that I asked in the original video, can you play this game casually? I don't know if you actually can. I don't think this game is really going to let you play it casually. I think that it's not going to give you the satisfaction. It seems to know the points where, like, the goals that you might have as a casual player, like getting to level 60, getting through the main story, etc. And it's putting barriers at just the right places to try to get you into the more dedicated player base before you reach that goal and get that satisfaction that you're looking for. So as a casual player, you're going to go in there and either come out dissatisfied, or you're going and you're going to be transformed into a pay-to-win player. So I think there's a whole lot of other conversations that could be had about this whole monetization topic, but I'm going to leave it there for now. Let me know what you think in the comments, and until next time, live boldly and be creative. よろしく。